welcome back to Beyond the Veil Tarot and Astrology. My name is Candice Marie. I'll be your astrologer today. Happy Tuesday. I hope your guys' week is going well. Back at it with another video today. We're going to take a look at this up and coming new moon in the sign of Capricorn. If you guys like my content, you want to see more of it, make sure you click the bell button below and subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'm here every Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and Sunday trying to make sense of what's going on in the cosmos. I'm excited for this new moon. This is a beautiful new moon. I'm excited for the potential that it has and to unpack all of this with you guys today. Coming up on December 30th, 2024, we're going to be having a beautiful new moon in the sign of Capricorn. This will be taking place at 2:26 p.m. Pacific time, 4:26 p.m. Central, and 5:26 p.m. Eastern time. I know we got people watching all over the globe, so make sure that you adjust your time zones accordingly and use this new moon because it is very special. It's going to be coming in at 9 degrees. So we have yet another kind of Sag influence with a new moon. We've had another one recently, I think so as well. So 9 degrees is always in degree astrology going to connect and correlate with Sagittarius, which is ruled by Jupiter. So it has this more abundant, fortuitous kind of energy. We might be setting new themes revolving around growth and responsibility. But specifically, nines have associations with higher learning and philosophy, travel or exploration, law as well as justice, religion or our spiritual beliefs, and anything regarding foreign cultures or long distance communication. So this is a great moon. I think it's really going to be about what we're learning about our faith, what we're learning about a little bit more hard work, dedication, and commitment, and how that can pay off. Even if we're experiencing delays, we know that it's going to be worth it in the long run. Now, the Sabian symbol that we're going to be reading today is going to be associated with 10 because this is 9 degrees and change. And this is actually a degree that I'm familiar with. This is where I have my natal Saturn-Neptune conjunction, so I could almost recite this by memory for you guys, but I'll read it. And if you guys are wanting to pick up a copy of the Sabian symbols to read along with me, click the link in the description below. I have a link of a book list and all of my recommended reading materials if you want to learn more about tarot or astrology. Now, we're going to be reading Capricorn 10, an albatross feeding from the hand. The word is nurture. The theme is the golden rule. The symbol speaks to a man's desire to make a place for himself in the world and the fact that he needs the cooperation of others in order to do this. Hear the principle of doing unto others as you would have done them to you. The image of an albatross feeding from the hand symbolizes the service of giving, and the basic premise here is that those who wish to receive must also be willing to give. The emphasis in this degree is generosity, care, and concern for others. At its highest, it represents the ability to live by example and demonstrate kindness and draw out the best in others. Watch for a tendency to incapacitate others through over-helpfulness and indulgence or failure to understand the critical issues in the matter. The accent today is on kindness. Activities center on helping those in need. Your greatest advantage lies in casting your bread on the waters or being generous with your time and resources. Guard against disabling others by doing for them what they can do for themselves and encouraging them to depend on you for everything you need. Stepping stones are care, concern, nurturance, sustainment, help, assistance, giving, generosity, kindness, benevolence, thoughtfulness, consideration, compassion, charity, and empathy. Okay, so these are going to be the themes kind of associated with this new moon. But if we break this down, I think of like, you know, a sailor or a man, you know, feeding the bird. This is about being in harmony with nature. So the symbol kind of suggests like a scene where there's peace and cooperation between human beings and the natural world. So the albatross, this is a bird. For those of you guys who are like, what is that? It's associated with freedom and also endurance and the vastness of the sea. So feeding them, you know, the sailor feeding them can symbolize a moment where the wild can be tamed and at the very least approached with a sense of trust. This is also about mastery over changes and challenges. So the sailor kind of like represents obviously somebody who's going into like sometimes dangerous situations being on the water. This is also about the human endeavor and managing to kind of like form a bond with an animal and connecting with something in its natural element. This is also about overcoming challenges and your own fears and limitations, and it speaks to the human ability to navigate through life's storms with grace and wisdom. I think that feeding the bird is also connected to nourishment, and so when we think of this moon, we're going to be looking at Saturn, and Saturn is in Pisces, so it can be about spiritual or emotional nourishment, and the act of feeding can be seen as like receiving nourishment, or being able to kind of give spiritual or even like emotional support. So this could represent a phase where you're either giving or receiving support, or some kind of guidance, and some kind of like personal care in an intimate way. And obviously, to be able to feed a wild animal, that requires some kind of respect as well as trust. So implicit in this theme is the respect and trust between humans and animals. It can also be between man and nature, and it suggests a time where there's mutual respect between the two, and it can allow for profound connections. Obviously, with Saturn being in Pisces, it's going to be about our respect for water, for the oceans, for sea life, for all of the environmental kind of connections to this as well, and where it's really important for us to take responsibility for being able to protect some of these environments. Capricorn is a sign that's associated with government, so you might be hearing more over the next year about government responsibility, care for oceans, water, wildlife, as well as other bodies of water. But I think this is also about patience and time. With Saturn, we're always thinking about time, and I think of this interaction between the sailor and the bird, that it's not something that is just going to happen overnight. You're not going to just develop the trust of an animal overnight. So putting the bread in your hand, sitting there and waiting, in a period of consistency and building trust and understanding with the bird. So it can relate to personal growth as well as development of relationships, where patience is going to be the key. Now, when we think about a new moon in Capricorn, we have this every year when the sun and the moon come together, in the sign of Capricorn, and it represents this brand new opportunity, this new moment that we're going to be kind of focusing on responsibility and growth. So you're going to want to look at where Capricorn is in your chart. That particular house is going to show you specifically where you're putting the intentions and the themes revolving around those intentions. But you're also going to want to look at where Saturn is, and it's currently in Pisces. Nice aspects to Saturn, we'll get into that in a minute, but just know that we're not only looking at where the new moon is, we have to take into consideration the themes of Saturn. Saturn is the ruler of Capricorn. Whenever we have a new moon, it's always going to be about goal setting and ambition. So that's going to be the theme basically that we're focusing on, and the timing is perfect. It's right at the end of the calendar year. I connect Saturn and Capricorn to discipline, structure, responsibility. So this is a new moon that's all about setting long-term goals and also planning and strategizing your success. So it's inviting us basically to be ambitious, but also practical about some of our goals, and take our emotions or our dreams into consideration while we set these goals. Capricorn is associated with the 10th house. So this is all about responsibility and duty. So even if it's not in your career house, it's about having some sort of responsibility and duty in that area of your life. So there's going to be an emphasis on taking responsibility, both personal or professional, and this period might actually encourage you to assess your duties and where you can improve or where you need to kind of step it up a little bit. Obviously, you can't talk about career, you can't talk about Capricorn without career and public image. Because Capricorn governs these areas of life as well as your reputation, this is a great time to really be thinking about new intentions revolving around your career. This could be new beginnings, promotions, or changes in how you're perceived professionally. And also, it's a really good time to be building like a legacy. We need structure and order when we're working with Capricorn. So there's really this call to like organize, structure, and restructure parts of our life that have felt a little like chaotic or disorganized. This is both external environments like your workspace, or internal structures like your routines. Yes, you're going to have to work a little bit harder to do that with this new moon, because there's going to be some squares happening to Saturn. But I do feel like within 6 months' time, when this becomes a full moon, you're going to see the potential of just hard work, dedication, and organization, and how that's going to allow you to be more productive. It is going to require us to be patient, but thankfully Capricorn's a sign that knows how to kind of be patient, and it's also about persistence. So Capricorn teaches us that patience is important, that if we're setting goals, even if it takes a long time for it to materialize, likely we are going to kind of see them through. It's just all about persistence. That's going to be the key. This is a time to focus on authority and taking leadership. This new moon is going to highlight issues revolving around authority and also, how you deal with authority figures. So this could be bosses, parents, elders, older people in your life, or it's a time where you're claiming your leadership and learning how to navigate structures out in the world better. But also with Saturn and Capricorn, we have to think about karma. Saturn's influence here with this particular new moon, there is going to be a focus on karmic lessons. Learning from the past and understanding the consequences of our actions are important, but likely I think this is going to be more about the karma of what we have not completed, what we have not finished up, maybe what's happened in the past, and kind of putting an end to old things and kind of starting some new ways of living. I do think that with some of the aspects also with the Saturn squares, we're going to see a mutable square that's going to be happening. I can tell you it's the karma revolving around the things that we don't say. If we are not taking opportunities, if we're not speaking up, if we're not asking questions, there can be some karmic repercussions for that. Equally, it can be a little bit of like an energy of putting our foot in our mouth and being mindful of like not, offending other people, not hurting other people's feelings, not being too overly critical, not practicing what we preach, because we're going to see a square from Mercury and Sag. And also if we don't take responsibility, if we don't step it up, we're going to see the karmic repercussions over the next 6 months of, where there's been lack of goal setting or focusing on our dreams or our responsibilities, that we could be kind of like left holding the bag and be stuck in a sticky situation. So in terms of how this is going to likely, I think, impact individuals, really there's going to be more motivation for achievement. That's the one thing that I think is the big takeaway. Likely you're going to be feeling a strong pull towards achieving something significant in the Capricorn area of your life. You're going to be moving forward with newfound clarity and really having like a list or a set of steps that you're going to be kind of exercising over the next 6 months to be able to reach your goal in that area. I also feel like this is a big reality check, right? Like Capricorn is an earth sign, so it's very kind of direct and matter of fact. And Capricorn or Saturn energy definitely brings a sense of a sobering or realistic perspective. So this new moon might be revealing to you where you've been overly optimistic or where you need to buckle down, especially because we're going to see squares between, kind of happy, optimistic Jupiter and Saturn in Pisces. We're going to be seeing that square that's hanging around pretty much from like the 24th through the 1st of January. This is all about emotional maturity, right? Because we got Saturn in Pisces. So there is going to be this push towards handling emotions in a much more mature way. And this can also be about how you manage stress or how you manage setbacks. I've observed with Saturn in Pisces that there's been a lot of sadness. There's been a lot of grief. There's been a lot of people who have also had a lot of shame. And rather than dealing with some of those matters head on and, kind of correcting things that have happened in the past, they just kind of like, they vanish or they pull back or they isolate. So I think a lot of this is also like knowing that, if we've made mistakes in the past, not letting it get us down. If we've had falling outs or maybe, we've been wrong in situations with relationships or friendships, knowing how to overcome some of those emotional hurdles and bridge the gaps in communication. I do think this is also about commitment. So some rising signs will see that relationships might be seeing a phase where commitment levels are deepening, or you're taking the next step in a relationship, or maybe even commitment is being tested, especially in terms of what each person brings to the table and their responsibility in the relationship. Now for physical health, Capricorn rules the bones, the teeth, skin, and joints, as well as anything revolving around aging. So this new moon might be prompting you to look at these areas or start a new health routine that's going to be more disciplined. Capricorn energy is wonderful for an upward incline, so things like hiking, or even anything that's going to be like light weightlifting can be really positive when we're dealing with Capricorn energy. Now for the collective, I do foresee that this is going to be setting intentions revolving around economic and structural changes. Capricorn has associations with government and leadership and big business. So on a societal level, this could manifest as new economic policies that will be kind of coming in over the next 6 months, new government structures or shifts in how industries operate for long-term sustainability. There will be a focus on leadership. How leaders are perceived, elected, or criticized might be coming into focus with a demand for more responsible and I think competent governance. With Saturn in Pisces, there's definitely been this feeling of where's the adult in the room, or where is leadership, or lack of accountability. But I feel like now we're going to be starting to see all of this kind of come to light. That's going to be a huge emphasis. And we're approaching some of these changes in a much more positive, optimistic way. And I think we're going to see this theme globally because this new moon is going to be at a 9. We might see some cultural shifts towards tradition, as Capricorn does represent tradition and the old ways. So it might be like a brief or lasting, interest in traditions, history, or ancient wisdom, valuing old ways as much as innovation. Now, my practical advice for you guys on this Capricorn new moon is obviously set intentions. It's as simple as just taking a few minutes to sit down, write your goals down, particularly those related to the Capricorn area of your chart or related to career or public life. Be as specific as possible because the communication's a little muddled on this particular new moon. Get organized, start planning things, organize your life or your work environment and make it possible for you to be able to have this space that's going to be efficient and then reflect on your new ambitions. Ground your energy, which I think is going to be pretty easy to do. We've got a number of planets that are kind of hanging out in earth signs. So I feel like if you're engaging in activities that are grounding you, it can be extra helpful. But I like hiking on new moons in Capricorn. I think that's a great form of exercise because it involves structure and discipline and getting to a higher vantage point. So if you're somebody who's able to get out in nature and do that, you might want to get to like a higher point, sit down and then kind of meditate and visualize your goals. But also review some of your commitments. Look at your commitments and see if they align with your long-term vision and where you need to make some tweaks. Now, obviously, like I said, the ruler of this moon is Saturn, and Saturn is in Pisces, and it's now direct. Saturn is heading now through the late degrees of Pisces between now and the spring before it moves and shifts into Aries. So when we see the full moon in Capricorn in 6 months' time, Saturn is going to be in Aries in conjunction to Neptune. Some of the biggest aspects in regards to this moon, we're going to start with the positive ones, is going to be the sextile to Saturn. So when you have a sextile between two signs, two houses, it basically means that the energy, the intention, the new beginnings that you're kind of planting in Capricorn is feeding off of or feeling supported by Saturn. So Saturn in Pisces, making our dreams a reality, taking accountability for, self-undoing lack, having better emotional boundaries, needing to rest and recuperate, not just work 24/7. These are some of the themes that we're going to see with that particular sextile. Now, we also see that there is some squares going on, and you guys have been following the Mercury retrograde that we had, November into December, where Mercury has been going back and forth in Sagittarius, where we've been reflecting on our belief systems, maybe the bigger picture, themes revolving around travel, education, that kind of stuff. Saturn has been receiving several squares from Mercury, so there's been some communication delays, some difficulties in seeing things in a much more positive, optimistic light, but also this realization that it can't be all butterflies and rainbows. We have to actually make our dreams a reality, and that means that we can't get lost in the bigger picture. We actually have to kind of ground down and get into the details. There has been travel delays. There has been maybe feeling a little bit more mentally bogged down. Maybe there's been some communication issues. And Jupiter is also receiving an opposition several times throughout this Mercury retrograde. So by the time that the new moon comes in, we're actually out of the Mercury retrograde, but we're still feeling the effects of the limitations with the Saturn square, as well as the kind of big ideas, big news, kind of going on with Jupiter and Gemini. So this is a mutable square where it almost seems like Saturn is needing to be
the sobering reality check for what actually is possible, you know? And I look at like Mercury in opposition to Jupiter, where things can sound wildly positive and, you know, amazing and optimistic, almost too good to be true. And Saturn comes in and squares these two particular planets, and it's kind of like, well, is that a pipe dream? Do you have time for that? You know, is it realistic? Are we kidding ourselves? Are we, you know, endlessly daydreaming and talking about what could be, but not actually taking any action? So this does kind of suggest that there is definitely going to be a lot of debate over the next 6 months revolving around just how much better can things be? What is the best way forward when it comes to making some changes with education, with travel, also with learning? A lot of us have had some blockages revolving around absorbing information with Mercury square Saturn. So if you're somebody who's taking classes, or if you're, you know, trying to get your degree, maybe you're trying to even learn a new skill or a language, Saturn has almost kind of felt like there's been this like invisible block that's been limiting us from being able to be fully focused or retain all of the information. That's still kind of hanging around, unfortunately. Besides that, we've got some other things going on. I mean, you know, just taking Mercury out of this for a second, you know, basically we've been in, and it's not exact, but it's both at 13 and 14 degrees. The 24th, 25th, 26th, the third Jupiter square Saturn, where Saturn is almost kind of lassoing and kind of pulling back on Jupiter's ability to be as optimistic or travel as freely or communicate. So there has been this sense of kind of feeling like that squashing any positivity, and that does kind of come up. And once again, that's mirroring the exact same thing that Mercury square Saturn is saying. Jupiter is the ruler of Pisces and Sagittarius, right? Traditionally. So whether you're looking at the Mercury square Saturn and it's kind of saying we have these mental blocks and inability maybe to communicate, connect, or see each other's perspective, we're also seeing the same thing with Jupiter square Saturn, because Jupiter is in a mercurial sign. So where are we naysaying too much and being too overly critical and shutting things down and not keeping an open mind? But also, where do we need to be a little bit more serious and a little bit more grounded and in reality, and not just talk about how amazing something could be? We actually physically make it happen. And that is the lesson of Saturn in Pisces. As you guys see going into next year, when Saturn and Neptune go into Aries, it's going to be on us as individuals. Whatever is happening collectively is going to be a karmic thing, obviously, for us in terms of what we have or have not taken responsibility within ourselves. So everybody's going to have a little bit of pressure, I think, in regards to how they are actively participating in getting more clarity, right? Saturn, Neptune. Are they responsible for their lack of, you know, information? Are they falsely informed and not doing their due diligence to kind of suss it out and see things clearly? Are we finally taking responsibility also on an individual level for our health, our mental health, as well as our own kind of spiritual growth? So these will all be things that will kind of come in through the full moon in 6 months' time. We'll look at that in a second. But you know, in terms of some other things that's kind of going on with this chart, obviously, probably the big one for me is the fact that we are now inching towards what is going to be the second Mars-Pluto opposition. So you'll notice that this is a chart that outside of the sextile is riddled with squares and oppositions, okay? So, you know, bringing it back to Capricorn. Capricorn, the goat, scales the mountain, goes all the way to the top, step by step, in sometimes extremely dangerous situations and heights. You guys can go and Google all your goat videos after this, and you can see what I'm talking about, until it gets to the top, and then it's able to look down on everything. So there's no doubt there is lots of challenges with this particular, you know, new moon. There is going to be some obstacles. There are going to be some setbacks, but it makes for a really great story, and it makes for an amazing comeback. So the real only positive aspect that I'm kind of seeing is the sextile to Saturn. Thank goddess, you know, Saturn is the ruler, but we've got a kind of, I don't like using the term like deadly, but Mars in opposition to Pluto is like, there may be some really significant consequences for the things that we do not necessarily, you know, kick into action with this new moon, right? What are those consequences? Mars in Leo is going retrograde. So it means we're supposed to be reflecting on what our personal goals are. What are our kids doing? How are we tending to our inner child? What's going on with our creative sense of self? Do we have passion? Are we enjoying life? Are we having fun? And this is also the individual, fire signs generally are, but Aries or Mars or Leo is very much the individual, and it's in opposition to Pluto, so the collective. You guys have heard me use the example when I talked about my Mars and Leo video that, Mars and Leo is life. It's about fun, it's about growth, it's about children, it's about younger people. It can also be about leadership. So obviously there's some changes going on with that. And the opposition to Pluto in Aquarius is kind of like what's happening with the collective and what's happening with the group, and where you're seeing these kind of like super lords that are all sitting around at tables talking about, well, we need to start charging carbon taxes, and we need to start, kind of making big changes environmentally, and we need to start, just some really crazy Plutonian things are kind of going on in Aquarius. There's all this like doomsday stuff. So there's this tension between, okay, actually, should we be focusing more on like life and creativity and happiness and joy? Does it always have to be doom and gloom and the end of the world and some kind of, like chaotic situation going on in the skies, Pluto and Aquarius? So that's in the air. And I think that we're going to be seeing over the next 6 months where a lot of people are going to feel incentivized to take some new responsibility when it comes to their career. Leo is all about self-employment. This is about taking risks. So you might see some people that, in this next year are kind of feeling like, what? I want to get out of my 9-to-5. I don't want this grind anymore. I'm going to get creative. I'm going to start an Etsy shop. I'm going to start a YouTube channel. I'm going to start some kind of small business. And because you want that freedom, right? Because Aquarius is about freedom. Anyway, could this suggest maybe that part of the changes in government is going to be, rolling out some kind of move to de-escalate war? Mars is retrograde. To get, crime and corruption out of politics? Mars in opposition to Pluto. Are we going to be seeing some dramatic kind of exposures revolving around just how much money is being spent by politicians in terms of their own free time and play? What is the involvement that some people are having in terms of investments and, exposing all of that basically. So I think that could definitely kind of come up. Simultaneously, we're also going to be seeing a square between Venus and Uranus. Mutual reception, you've got Venus in a Uranian sign and you've got Uranus in a Venusian sign. Uranus in Taurus is all about these changes and kind of ups and downs and things happening financially. So with Uranus retrograde at a 23, it means that it's almost like, I see it as Uranus is being wound up right now before Uranus goes direct in the new year. And then all of a sudden when it goes direct, we're going to see this like springboard effect where it's going to be like, there's going to be sweeping changes with banks. I think government spending is another one. It's too wide to be a trine, but by sign, the new moon is trining Uranus and Taurus. So that in general says that there's definitely going to be some big changes revolving around like funding and spending when it comes to government. Obviously, Venus in Aquarius is a great placement. It's great for parties, get-togethers, gatherings. I think a lot of people are going to have some fun maybe with the holiday parties with that particular transit. But it is squaring Uranus, which means there's going to be some changes. There's going to be some upsets. There's going to be some twists and turns when it comes to our values and also our goals, when it comes to our relationships with friends and allies, and also our resources, how we're spending money when it comes to socializing, if we're focusing really, heavily on, career changes or on work. Does that have an impact on the way that we are, socializing and like spending money? Maybe, right? So Venus, Uranus, usually we see a little tension in relationships, some upsets financially or with love. So, the new moon is providing you with an opportunity, I think, to really focus on commitment and maturity. And that's going to require us to exercise some kind of emotional maturity with the sextile to Saturn. Saturn in Pisces is also sometimes about letting go, right? It's in the sign of Pisces, which is a water sign. So it could mean that emotionally we're finally starting to kind of realize and take responsibility for how we've been feeling, and maybe in order to achieve some of your goals financially with relationships or work, you're realizing where you actually need to kind of cut ties with certain people, certain jobs, certain, relationships, certain habits. So breaking off things is definitely a theme with Venus square Uranus. Cutting away and there being some tension and some power struggle is very Mars in opposition to Pluto. So essentially, this new moon is going to provide you with the opportunity to focus on your goals, but it may actually be about what you're walking away from and recognizing and realizing that, if you let something go, you're creating space for something new to come in. Now, going back to the Sabian symbol, when we talked about the patience, right, of like holding the food out in your hand, the sailor for the bird, I also see that as the sextile to Saturn. That's like, needing to be patient and visualizing. That's very Pisces, manifesting, meditating on, knowing that what is meant to find you will find its way to you. You just have to believe. I know, sounds kind of crazy, right? Kind of hokey in a spiritual sense, but that's what it means. Interesting that Saturn is at 14 degrees. So Saturn is a degree that is associated with money, and it's associated with resources, values, spending, personal possessions. So there can be a lot of people kind of looking around being like, you know what, I'm not getting paid enough to do my job, or I don't feel valued here, or emotionally, this is not really doing it for me anymore. And people could be going back and forth being like, it's not even so much the money thing, it's the impact that it's having on your soul. If you feel like you have a bigger purpose or something else that you could be doing that's bigger and better out in the world. Now, Saturn is direct. So what you need to know about that is that this is going to provide you with more clarity and also the ability to take a little bit more direct action with Saturn direct. It will amplify the energies also of Capricorn qualities. So it's going to be, prime time for goal setting and not just aspirational, but actionable, because Saturn's direct energy is supporting the realization of your objectives. It is time for serious commitment. So it's really urging you to commit seriously to whatever plan you're going to be kind of coming up with and initiating that. Obviously, you guys are going to want to focus not just on setting long-term goals, but overcoming challenges. That's something I really want to drive home with this. Overcoming challenges, really exercising commitment and discipline and focusing on building some kind of structure in your life, whether that's your personal life, your career, your finances. Now we're laying solid foundations, and we want to think about creating systems or frameworks that's going to support your ambition, right? And like I said, with some of the aspects, it might mean that, okay, in order to get to where I want to go, it's not so much I can't get there. It's here's what I need to clear out to be able to get there. Here's what I need to heal emotionally to be able to get there. Here is what I need to break away from. And guess what? Some people with the oppositions are relational. Some people may not agree with what you're doing or what you're building or what you're focusing on, especially with Mercury in opposition to Jupiter. People could be very, they can have a lot of opinions on whether or not what you're believing you could build is actually feasible. And you're also going to see some people who are also going to be a little miffed. It could be friends, relationships, whatever. With the Mars-Pluto opposition, people could be miffed because they're kind of like, well, why aren't you making time for me? And you're like, I've got this thing that I got to get done. It's got to be this thing, right? So there is some tension that's kind of built into this new moon. All right, let's see what else. And obviously with Saturn and Pisces, for me, it's always been about like this theme of like realism versus practicality. And it's hard when you have Saturn in Pisces because it's like, okay, is what I'm working towards or building, like, am I going to get anywhere, right? Like that's definitely going to, that's a theme that's going to come up. It's pushing us to be much more practical and approach whatever we're doing with a sense of like knowing where we're going, not just having a plan or a vision, like actively being like, okay, we're setting aside the time, we're going through the motions and paying attention to your emotions while you're doing that. Manifest with patience, take authority, focus on leadership, and also focus on personal integrity. Because Saturn is a lot about integrity. And I think that, any intentions that you're setting really should align with your core values and your ethical standards. Okay. Let me show you what this new moon is going to look like in 6 months when it becomes a full moon. So new moons always build into full moons. And this will be a full moon around July 10th, 2025. It's kind of weird saying that. But this will be the full moon in Capricorn, okay? And this will be at 18 degrees. So that's going to be more revolving around health, jobs, organization, that kind of stuff. So there's some interesting stuff going on here. 2025, we have new astrology to talk about. So many outer planets are going to be in new signs. So it's going to be bringing up stuff that is brand new themes for a lot of us. Okay, what we see with this moon is we see that the ruler, Saturn, is now in Aries. Saturn doesn't do so well in Aries. There is going to be some pros and cons, obviously, to any transit, but I would say Saturn being at a 1, at least it's direct. So it's basically saying now we are focusing on taking responsibility and accountability for ourselves, Aries, for our frustration, our anger. We have better personal boundaries. Maybe we have goals that we're actually finally kind of achieving. They could be materializing around this moon. However, Saturn in Aries is almost like putting the responsibility on a young kid and like expecting a kid to know how to do everything by themselves, to take care of themselves, to have a job and go to work, you know, and they're not going to know how to do that. So it's going to be interesting to watch Saturn go through Aries and connect with Neptune, because it's going to be, I think, a rude awakening for some people. That's like, oh, it's on me now. Like now I have either more responsibility or more of a sense of self-awareness, or, you know, totally changing or transforming something about yourself. And Saturn Neptune in conjunction only happens like every, 36 or so years. So that's going to be interesting. We're also going to see in this moon that it will be trining the South Node, which is in Virgo at this time. So there's going to be some cosmic clearing out that's going to be happening, some changes, moving away from perfectionism, moving away from being super hyper organized, maybe even moving away from certain jobs or health or habits. And it's going to trine Mars, which Mars does pretty well in Virgo. I mean, it can get some stuff done, but I'm going to go out on a limb here, but that full moon trine the South Node Mars means that there's definitely going to be some major clearing out that's going to be going on with jobs, whether that's like, you know, the government's clearing out some like federal jobs, or we're seeing that there's going to be another wave of, you know, layoffs going on in some companies. There's going to be tending or managing or taking responsibility for personal health related matters that's kind of going on with the collective. And this can be positive, where the government's more involved in, you know, promoting laws that's going to be, you know, cutting things out of food that might be toxic, or having a role in, you know, pharma and some kind of involvement in like new protocols and regulations for pharmaceuticals, or for, you know, anything that's going to be about care. This could be nursing centers. This could be also, you know, not necessarily hospitals, but rehabs, any physical things that are going to be care centers. There's going to be some stuff that might come up with that. We're also going to see Saturn that is not just conjunct Neptune, but it's sextiling Uranus. So it's kind of saying through these new beginnings that are kind of coming with Saturn and Aries, it's promoting Uranus, you know, unexpected changes with education, with learning, with communications, with websites, with social media. I mean, like, man, I look at this moon and I'm like, so many people may get to, you know, mid 2025 and be like, I'm quitting my job. Why? Because I spent the last 6 months, you know, busting my ass and starting a business. And now I'm independent, self-sufficient, Saturn and Aries. Now I'm promoting my business online and I'm making money, or I have multiple income streams, Uranus and Venus and Gemini. So if you're going into 2025 and you're like, I am ready to finally have something new, or to do something new, or something professionally, or get into a different kind of line of work, this is a good new moon for a lot of people to utilize this. Okay. So we'll talk about it a little bit more, obviously, next summer when we get to that, full moon. One other thing I just realized as I was looking at this, and I didn't think about it until now, is that it's wide, but the new moon is squaring the North and the South Node by about 8 degrees. So that's pretty wide. But, you know, whenever the moon squares its own nodes, it means that fateful situations are happening, right? So moon in Capricorn, obviously, you know, it's debilitated here. It's moving through a Saturn sign. So there's a lot of like having to grin and bear it and kind of like either go to work, or maybe not want to do the emotional work or the emotional heavy lifting. That can be coming up as well. But, you know, the sun and the moon square the North and the South Node is basically saying that the intentions that you set with this moon, or what's coming about from this moon, is basically showing you, hey, something needs to be done in this area. So let's approach it with a sense of optimism. Let's kind of say, you know what, change can be good, even if that means we need to clear some stuff out, even if it means that it's going to be, maybe it's going to take a little bit longer, or there might be some financial changes, or there might be some changes to how we're interacting with people socially. It's time to kind of grow up. I mean, that's like that's the Capricorn kind of perspective, you know? So in terms of setting intentions or ritualizing this new moon, obviously it's an earth sign. So I'm always going to recommend working with the elements of earth, whether you're working with herbs, you're working with crystals, you want to work with plants, or just being outside in nature, right? That can be a wonderful way to celebrate the new moon in Capricorn. I love working with garnet with Capricorn new moons or transits involving Capricorn. I also really like working with black onyx, and I like jet as well as obsidian. Okay, yes, these are all kind of like darker stones, but these are all great stones to put on an altar, throw in your pocket, maybe put it in your purse, or if you have like little bracelets and things with these stones, it'd be good to wear. Now for herbs that I can recommend to use during this new moon, so if you want to steep some herbs and take a bath, or if you're wanting to, you know, burn something on a charcoal, or if you're wanting to kind of mix some stuff up and put on a candle, I like comfrey, I like rosemary, patchouli, and cedar. Okay, so that's what I would use. And for oils, I would recommend using frankincense and myrrh, right? We want to make it smell like church, basically, with Capricorn. Those are great oils or incenses that you guys can use during this new moon. Generally, Capricorn is associated with black. It's darker colors, and black obviously is kind of connected to Saturn as well as discipline and authority. You can use gray if you want, because that can also be about maturity and practicality. So if you want to use black and gray colors, you want to wear those colors, or you want to use those colored candles. And I guess also you could use like a dark green, because that's associated with the element of earth. Okay. So with that being said, let me show you where this new moon is going to be taking place in your horoscope for each and every one of the 12 rising signs. I am a Western astrologer. That is what I practice. I'm not a Vedic astrologer, and I'm going to be showing this to you guys in whole sign. Okay, so I recommend listening to your rising sign. Your rising sign will tell you where this new moon is taking place, and that's the area that you're going to focus on. You can also listen to your sun sign, and I recommend doing that because this is actually going to correlate and connect a lot with career, which is important for everybody, obviously, but the sun is more about our personal kind of identity and sometimes our career stuff. So if you don't typically listen to your sun sign, I would listen to it for this particular new moon. And you can listen to your moon sign as well. That's going to tell you what you need to know about navigating your emotional life or what's going on with your home or your family. And if you use Placidus like I do in my private practice, you're going to want to look at your chart and see where 9 degrees of Capricorn is. And anybody who has any personal placements, 8 to about 10 degrees of Capricorn, you're going to be experiencing a new moon, either conjunct an angle, your ascendant, your rising, your moon, or a personal planet. So it's going to add a little bit more oomph to it if you've got a new moon taking place there. Okay. So let's go ahead and get started. We're going to start obviously first with our Aries and Aries rising. What's up, Aries? This is a new moon that you're going to be experiencing in your natal 10th house. So a lot of what I've been saying kind of relates and resonates with you, I'm sure. Obviously, this is all going to be about setting intentions in regards to your career, your public image, and authority. Now, you might be setting new career goals or working on your reputation. Maybe you're considering taking on a leadership role of some kind. So the themes involving this new moon for you are all going to be about ambition, your public life, your career achievements, and having some sense of authority. I feel like this, this is the natural home for Capricorn. So it's really emphasizing new career beginnings that are going to be happening or significant progress and focusing on your legacy and your status. Now, obviously, this is feeding off of Saturn in the 12th house. So, Saturn's going into your sign next year. And maybe it's going to be about becoming self-employed. Maybe it's going to be about retiring. Maybe it's going to be about taking a hiatus from work. Maybe there's going to be this sense of awareness that's like, you know what? It's my time now to shine. I want to kind of have all eyes on me. But with Saturn in your 12th house, you know that, you're still wrapping things up. So maybe you're working on these things behind the scenes, or you know that your time is coming to an end, or you're kind of planning your exit strategy in some way. And that will be ultimately something that's going to start to appear in about 6 months' time. Obviously, because this is a Capricorn moon, I'm less focused on the immediate gratification of what can I get in the next 2 or 4 weeks. I want you guys to think long term. Where do you want to be in 6 months? Create that goal, put it somewhere, visualize it where you're going to see it, right? And you'll start to kind of see this come full circle for you next year. The card that I got for you, my Aries and Aries rising, is the Two of Coins. So clearly there's this sense of like, am I doing it? Am I really ready? Am I making this jump? Or you're going back and forth and you're trying to kind of figure out maybe how much is too much. Like, is there too much going on, too much work? Are you kind of overwhelmed? And is it harder for you to be able to have time to rest and recuperate? Or are you having a hard time actually walking away from something, right? Let me know, Aries, what happens with this Capricorn new moon. All right, so I've got my Taurus and Taurus risings. You guys are going to experience a new moon in Capricorn in your natal 9th house. And this is a fellow sister earth sign. So if you have anything around like the 8, 9, 10 degrees of Taurus, it's going to trine your placements and it's going to be pretty friendly for you. So a new moon in Capricorn happening for you in your natal 9th house is all about philosophy, travel, higher education, law, legality, publishing. So the intentions here is to, pursue further education, to plan long distance travel, to find purpose, to expand your worldview in a more disciplined manner. If you know you want to go back to school, you want to initiate something legally, you want to publish something, you want to start learning or teaching something, generally you do this after this new moon. I feel like the themes are going to be about structured learning, maybe cultural exploration, maybe learning about places that you would like to go and visit. This is all about exploring how education or travel fits into your long-term goals and focusing on wisdom and exploration. Now, the ruler is Saturn, and Saturn is in your 11th house. So this means that maybe you're focusing on, okay, how can I start a group? How can I start a network? How can I connect with people that might be further away or international? Are you booking a trip to go and hang out with friends, right? Are you wanting to go to some kind of group learning opportunity or situation, maybe? Those are the kind of the themes revolving around the connection to Saturn. And I feel like for many of you guys, it's going to be about like bringing people together from further away. So that could be socially or in regards to your work or your career. The card that I got for you is the Four of Cups, which can be seen actually as kind of like a Saturn energy, by the way. There can be this sense of like, like I'm not satisfied with something, right? So what are you not satisfied with right now, Taurus and Taurus rising? Obviously, you got a lot of stuff going on, right? You got Pluto in your career house. Mars is going through your 4th house. A lot of you guys are seeing a lot of tension between your career and your home. So this could be manifesting as realizing that's just like there's just too much pressure in these areas and I really need to do something that's going to get me out of the house or give me a break from work, or I need to spend more time with my friends. So I could see this kind of coming up where some of the intentions are actually stemming from things that you're not feeling satisfied or fulfilled in, and becoming aware of that and being able to kind of set intentions to how to better those emotions, right? Let me know, Taurus. All right, we've got Gemini and Gemini rising. Gemini, what's going on? You have got a new moon happening in Capricorn in your 8th house. Obviously, this is a sign that in conjuncts or quincunxes you. You guys don't have a lot in common. I guess this is really highlighting the in conjunct or the quincunx to Jupiter. So it's really kind of saying like you have to be focused on change right now, right? That's what the 8th house is about. So change in a sense of what? Just transformation, shared resources, intimacy, things revolving around money owed. It can be about taxes, inheritances, or emotional, psychological change. But it is Capricorn. Something could be changing with your career. Now, the intentions here, obviously in the 8th house, are to deal with debt or shared resources, explore deeper aspects of intimacy, and transform through discipline. Now, the themes can be inheritance, taxes, psychological depth, but I think this is encouraging you to face and restructure what you share with other people. And this is really leading to personal growth through shared experiences. Now, the ruler of this new moon is Saturn, and it's in your career zone, so it could mean that You're focusing on making more money. There's budget talks going on at work. Maybe there's going to be changes with your investments or your benefits. It could be like health insurance changes or other things because of stuff that's going on with work. How you're embracing changing something in your career and changes the name of the game. You're going to have eclipses going into your 10th house the next 2 years. You're going to have the North Node there, a slew of retrogrades in the spring. There's no stopping this train. So maybe this is about kind of getting on board with, okay, how do I feel about this change and how am I going to be approaching this? Obviously, there's a lot of back and forth also with communications with other people about this change in your status or change in your career. If it's not career-wise, it could be, you know, the change in the back and forth with clients, relationships, business partnerships, and how that's actually going to be impacting some of the changes in your career house. So for my Gemini and Gemini rising, I love that you guys get the High Priestess. It almost kind of feels like, you know, for me in a personal reading, when I pull this, I'm like, I'm just going to tell them literally what I see, what I foresee coming. What I foresee coming for you guys is a pretty significant change in your career. And I think that this is something that you may already know is coming and you're kind of starting to kind of feel into it, or you're kind of starting to get bits and pieces of information which correlates to this change. And it's like this preparation, you know, Saturn, Capricorn in the 8th house is very much about preparing for the changes that are coming emotionally or financially. Okay. Let me know what happens, Gemini. I've got Cancer and Cancer rising. You guys will be doing this new moon in Capricorn in your natal 7th house of relationships and other people. All right. So for you guys, obviously this is relationships, partnerships, but also like, you know, if you're married, it could be your business partner, it could be clients. It is Capricorn after all. So it's who you're working with, who you're doing business with also. A new moon here is oftentimes going to be about, you know, setting intentions revolving around relationships, whether that is strengthening committed partnerships. It could be negotiating terms in relationships or professional alliances. It could be setting intentions to go and meet somebody new and get involved in a committed relationship, anything like that. So at the time of this moon, obviously, if you have anything, you know, 8, 9, 10 degrees of Cancer, it's opposing you. So it's very relational. It deals with others. And it is going to be sextiling Saturn in your 9th house. So it basically means maybe you're establishing a relationship with a client further away. Maybe you're getting a relationship coach. Maybe you're developing a relationship with a new supplier of like products for importing and exporting. Maybe you are consulting with somebody who's going to be talking to you about how to create a marketing campaign for your business. Maybe you are going to be traveling with a partner. Maybe there's a long distance relationship that kind of pops up from this, right? Any of those things. Very interesting time to watch the moon go through the 7th house, which rules your chart, square the nodes, which means there's really prominent new, I think, professional or long-term relationship people who will come in from this new moon, right? And I think about the full moon in 6 months and how Saturn and Neptune are going to be in your 10th house. So many of you guys are going to be like, yeah, I wanted to start a business. I got an investor, you know, and now we're partners. Or I really wanted to meet somebody and I met somebody and now I'm married. You know, something like that can kind of come up from a new moon like this. The only kind of challenge, I guess I would say, is obviously that, you know, a lot of these things have yet to come into fruition yet. So you're waiting for the people to show up before some of this stuff can kind of unfold over this next year. All right. You have the 6 of Cups. I love this for you, which is kind of cool, right? Because, you know, the 7th house is going to be about commitments. It's going to be about, you know, focusing on other people and, you know, how you can, you know, kind of connect with people better. And then you get the 6 of Cups with the soulmate card. This is about bringing in people who you're meant to meet, sweeter times, better connections, feeling like you're really fostering a deep emotional connection. And I think maybe that's the Saturn in the 9th house, that it could be with somebody further away. It could be what you're learning about relationships. But this might mean that there is somebody that you're reconnecting to, or maybe you're just reconnecting to an existing relationship and going deeper, or meeting somebody who feels like kind of oddly familiar and meant to be. Let me know, Cancer. That's a good read on that one. We've got Leo and Leo rising. What's up, Leo? You're doing this new moon in the sign of Capricorn. This is going to be in your natal 6th house. Obviously, Capricorn is a sign that inconjuncts or quincunxes you. So just, you know, keep an open mind with this energy because it's a little bit different than what you're used to. But a new moon in the 6th house is wonderful for focusing on better health, finding a new job, switching something up about your routine or even your workplace. Really the intentions for a new moon here is about improving health through discipline, okay, and starting new work practices or routines. So this is going to be about managing your work-life balance, which I know has felt kind of hectic for you in recent weeks. But if you're like, I need to get back to the gym, I need to get organized for the new year, I need to find a new office, I need to get back to work. These are things that you can, you know, set intentions for during the time of the new moon. I feel like if you're focusing on your work ethic and also health through structure as well as service, it's going to benefit you. And I would really implement these new routines because they're going to support your ambitions in your daily life. Now, what you're going to see at the time of this new moon is that the ruler is Saturn and it's in your 8th house. So to me, this seems like how fitness and being organized and being productive can make you feel better, right? I've heard a lot of Leo and Leo risings that are like, I have heavy moods, I'm dealing with grief, there's depression, you know, Saturn and Pisces in your 8th house can bring that stuff up. But if you get your body moving, right, if you have something that motivates you, if you have a goal, and if you have a schedule and a routine, even if you don't feel like it, if you're getting into one, it can really help you. And I think this could also be about being like, I'm not drinking, I'm not overworking, I'm not oversleeping. I'm trying to make maybe changes and like detoxing and kind of clearing things out in my body because Saturn is in the 8th house, which can be talking about kind of detoxing stuff out. I think that, you know, outside of those aspects, although they're supporting, you got some other stuff kind of going on, right? Like you've got the Mars-Pluto stuff. And I've seen a lot of Leo and Leo risings that are actively going through a separation right now in a relationship with the Pluto in your 7th house. So for a lot of you guys, you know, as Mars retrogrades back into your 12th, it's going to be like, if I take time and I kind of, you know, pull back a little bit and I rest and recuperate, or I focus more on what's going on with me, or I'm healing something, you're going to feel better. And if you're not going through an active separation, if you're in a good relationship, then this could just literally mean, who am I outside of my relationship? What am I doing for me? Am I getting all of my stuff done? Am I being productive? Am I focusing on my health and also on my habits? Or am I losing myself in another person? So good new moon if you also are looking for work and you want to get a job as well. I would say that this can be really productive here. And those of you guys who are dealing with like a health issue or an ailment, or you're trying to heal something, this is a good time to start planning to go and see doctors and people who can help. The card that I got for you is the Queen of Cups. So look for support from a water sign. It could be a Cancer, Scorpio, or a Pisces, but I think this is also connected to Saturn in your 8th house, where this is saying that you're coming to terms with your emotions. And literally Saturn in Pisces, the grief could be like in your bones, right? It could be something that you're carrying that you need to kind of process and kind of heal. It may not just be about physical ailments, it could be emotional ailments, and that highlight of Saturn in the 8th house can show you where some kind of like therapy or working with a psychologist or somebody can kind of help you get back on track with, you know, some of your goals, okay? Focusing on the emotions of the matter. Let me know how it goes, my Leos. We've got Virgo and Virgo rising. Virgo, you're going to be doing this new moon in Capricorn in your natal 5th house of romance, children, creativity, and self-expression. If you have any Virgo placements around 8, 9, 10 degrees, it's going to be trining this, as Capricorn is a fellow sister Earth sign. Great place to have a new moon, honestly. This is very relationship oriented for my Virgos and Virgo risings. When you have a new moon in the 5th, obviously you're setting intentions if you want to start new creative projects, right? So if you're self-employed, if you're an artist, or if you're a creative performer, this is a good time to start. And also engaging in romantic pursuits in a more disciplined way, Capricorn. And you may also be focusing on like parenting in a structured way. That can be coming up. If you want to get out there and meet people, this is a good time to start dating. I feel like this is bringing up the themes of serious romance, discipline, creativity, long-term joy from children or from hobbies. I'm encouraging you guys to take a disciplined approach to what you love, ensuring that these areas of your life contribute to your long-term goals. Now, Saturn is the ruler, and it's going to be in your 7th house of relationships and committed partnerships, and it will be sextiling. So those of you guys who are in committed relationships might be talking about your children if you have them. You're discussing having children, parenting kind of styles with kids. Otherwise, if you are in a relationship, but it's, you know, not marriage per se, right? You might be talking more about, well, where are we going? What are we doing? Are we getting married? Are we going to be having children? You know, are we in love with each other, right? That can be kind of coming up as well. Certainly, Saturn in your 7th house is not easy for relationships, but for a lot of Virgo and Virgo risings, I think over the next 2 years with the eclipses and Saturn, it's a very prominent time where significant people are either coming into your life or are going to be leaving your life. So it's going to depend on where you're at. Obviously, the Mercury opposition in the square is a lot of trying to figure out what's going on with home, what's going on with work, and how do relationships or partnerships fit into that. Do you need to move? Do you need to change your job? Are you making adjustments to your home or your living situation due to a new relationship or shift that's going on with your family? That's been the ongoing conversation that's been happening between this square. So the fact that, you know, Saturn is sextiling is saying when it comes to topics of creativity, togetherness, romance, children, family, are you getting support that you need from a partner? Are you with the right person to facilitate doing those things? Or if you're not, what are you changing, right? So the card that I get for my Virgos and Virgo risings is the Four of Swords, which is, to me, is kind of like a wait and see method. You know, it's just kind of like, I'm just going to sit on it. I'm going to think about it for a little bit. Down the road, right, next year, when Saturn and Neptune go into Aries, it's going to be in your 8th house. So it means that there may be more physical, financial, emotional kind of togetherness, or, you know, with another person, or there's going to be more reliance on insurance or joint income or whatever. Themes revolving around also like child support, that can be kind of coming up as well. So just looking at this, I kind of feel inclined to tell you with the Four of Swords, some of you guys are kind of going, okay, you know, I'm needing to make really serious decisions revolving around love and relationships. And, you know, do I see myself having a kid with this person or living with them or being married to them? If not, you might make some changes. If you are with the right person, I think that it's going to be about just taking things to the next level, but you're thinking about it. You're not really acting on it immediately. You're going to allow this to kind of be maybe part of the long-term goal. Otherwise, this might mean that you're focusing on new creative hobbies or businesses and you're trying to get them up and running so that way you can be more fiscally or financially independent. And that might be something that's kind of coming up for you next year. Okay? Let me know, Virgo, what happens. We've got Libra and Libra rising. What's going on, Libra? You're going to be experiencing a new moon in Capricorn. This will be happening in your natal 4th house of home and family. If you got any Libra in your chart, 8, 9, 10 degrees, you're going to experience this square. So just be mindful of that. But essentially a new moon happening in your 4th house is all about your home, your family, your roots, as well as the past. So the intention here is to establish or solidify your home base and work on family dynamics or dive into your ancestry, look for a new place to live. Maybe you are going to be wanting to, you know, clean, organize, remodel your space. And the themes are going to be about creating a secure home, family responsibilities, long-term plans, and your legacy. Now, I think the meaning here is really setting intentions that's about laying down roots, both literally or metaphorically, focusing on emotional security and family structure. If you need to sign a lease, if you need to buy a house, if you need to move, any of those things, you know, usually this is kind of prompted by this new moon. You just recently came out of a Mercury retrograde in the 3rd, so there's been lots of conversation about moving or where you're going or what you're doing, whether that's now or in the future. So over the next 6 months, you'll see this kind of like materialize. What I will tell you is that the ruler Saturn is in your 6th. So it could mean that for a lot of Libra risings, it's I need to be doing work at home, okay? So 6th house could be you need to, you know, organize or create an office space. It might mean that you need to literally clean, purge, organize your house. That's how I'm gonna use it. It could also mean that you're working out from home, right? Maybe of service to relatives or family, that's definitely possible. And if you have things you need to fix up or you need to kind of clean up or you need to improve in your home, the 6th house might be services. So you might bring somebody in to clean the carpets or, you know, wash the windows or walk the dog or whatever. Anything that's going to kind of help your home flow a little bit better. Okay. Something interesting also, just like next year when you have this full moon, Saturn and Neptune are going to be in your 7th house. So it means that there's going to be serious things kind of going on revolving around your living situation and your partners. So there's going to be a new beginning in partnership, and maybe you're buying a house with someone, maybe you're moving somewhere new, maybe somebody moves in with you. There could be something kind of going on there, either with a relationship or a family member. Now, Venus, your chart ruler, it's squaring Uranus, so just a heads up, you know, it does look like some of these changes are going to be exciting, creative. They may be brought on by financial changes or changes that are going on with children. All right, so let's see, Libra, what do we want to tell you on this new moon? You get the Wheel of Fortune. Wow. I kind of see this as just like fortuitous situations that are coming up right now, you know, opportunities for you to be able to kind of like have a breakthrough and, you know, move in a direction where good things are coming. You know, Pluto finally left your 4th house, Libra. So I really feel like everything that's kind of coming in regards to your home and your living situation is like going to be so much easier to navigate now. And you'll probably find that it's such a blessing in 2025, whatever change comes. All right, we've got Scorpio and Scorpio rising. What's going on, Scorpio? You're going to be experiencing this new moon in Capricorn in your natal 3rd house. So the 3rd house for you is all about communication. This could be like contracts, negotiations. It could be, you know, involving siblings. It could mean that there's changes with learning. Maybe you want to launch new websites. Maybe you want to, you know, book a trip, a road trip, change vehicle. These kinds of things you do in the 3rd house. So the intention here with this new moon is to improve communication. Your learning skills might advance your career in some way. Maybe you're reconnecting to family members or siblings. And this is all about structured learning, disciplined thought, as well as practical communication. So what you're really focusing on is, you know, how to use your immediate environment and communication to climb the personal or professional ladder. This is wonderful for those of you guys who are wanting to launch a website, or if you're wanting to start a new social media platform connected to business, if you want to write something, if you want to learn a new skill in regards to your career. Now, the ruler is sextile Saturn in your 5th. So, you know, basically this means that if you're self-employed, if you're creative, you know, it's going to be 3rd house kind of launches that are going to be connected to that. If you are in the business of writing music, or if you create content, if you are wanting to start a blog, or if you're wanting to teach something, it's going to kind of help you get creative and have like a really structured approach to making this possible. This might also mean that you want to start doing some short distance trips and traveling with a romantic partner, or improving communication maybe with your children, or romantic partners in general. Now, the only real challenge that's kind of brewing at the time of this moon is that your chart ruler is in opposition to Pluto. So you've got both of your chart rulers kind of in some tension with one another. And the tension is the changes revolving around the home, and also the changes revolving around career. So, you know, maybe the communication opportunities are going to be things like, you know, are we moving? If so, you know, are we moving in together? Are we, you know, going to be changing something about our career? And, you know, where does this kind of bring up the need to have communications, meetings, contracts, and stuff that kind of arrive? So I like the new moon for you guys. Write your intentions down, you know, get them all on paper, put them somewhere that you can review them in about a year's time. Okay. 6 months to a year. Let's say 6 months. All right. So the card that I have for you is the Queen of Coins, which I love for a Capricorn new moon. So this does talk about Capricorns, Tauruses, or Virgos. And if you happen to have one of those sun signs, this could be referring to you specifically if you're a Scorpio rising. This is like, you know, making your money. And this is also doing it in a way that feels good. And it's like nurturing, like you're nurturing something that's creative, or something that's going to be more intellectual, and then it's going to end up bringing you something in the long run. having something that is very valuable, but also something that you enjoy doing. And that's very much maybe the new moon in the third house sextile Saturn. You know, it might start as something that you do as a hobby or like a passive income thing, but you learn that you can actually, you know, make resources off of this. Like you can make money off of it and you enjoy doing it at the same time. Look for people who are going to help you nurture, you know, some of these skills and encourage you or support you professionally, specifically a woman. Okay? All right, good luck, my Scorpio and Scorpio risings. Let me know what happens. We've got Sag and Sag rising. Sag, you're going to be doing this new moon in Capricorn in your second house of money, resources, wealth, and values. So this is the moon that you do your money manifestation, okay? And what's interesting is that the new moon here is really going to be about setting intentions revolving around your financial goals, the assets that you value. It might be starting a new income stream or a savings plan. It's all about wealth through hard work for Sag risings. You got to work for it, right? Capricorn's in your second. And it does mean that this is also going to be about security and material success. So with this new moon, it's prompting you to review the resources that you have and encouraging you to build more of a stable foundation for your financial future. Now, Sagittarius, this is sextiling Saturn, right? So this is basically saying, okay, well, where is my money going? Is it going towards a down payment for a home? Is it going towards helping, you know, pay the family bills? Is it going towards taking care of a parent? If those of you guys want to move in the near future, or you have a dream of living in another city, or if you're hoping to, you know, become independent and move out of your parents' house, anything like that, this is the moon that you want to do it. The challenge, because there is a challenge, is that your chart ruler in your relationship house is squaring Saturn. So this could also mean that through growth in a relationship or somebody being generous or communicating better with you or supporting you, you know, a partnership is going to help you achieve some of these goals when it comes to your fourth house. So a partnership might say, hey, let's move in together. It'll be more effective. You'll save money. They might say, hey, let's buy a property together. Or, you know, let me help you with some of the home and, you know, domestic responsibilities so it's not too much for you to carry. So, you know, you've been learning through the Mercury retrograde to kind of communicate through some of these things and where there's been some heavy emotions or family stuff going on. And maybe you've had to realize that if you just communicate and tell somebody else what you're going through or how you're feeling, it opens the door to a deeper relationship and connection to another person and somebody who can kind of help you deal with your home, family, or the past better. Next year, right, you're going to be seeing Saturn and Neptune go into Aries. So it's going to go into your fifth house. So that's going to be a time where maybe now some of your resources are going to be allocated towards, well, I want to have hobbies. I want to spend more time on the things that I love to do. I want to have children. I want to, you know, focus more on dating and having fun. I mean, that's really the fifth house. So you'll do it in a serious way. You'll get serious about whatever you're doing. But it looks like that you'll have the freedom to do more things because you're going to be working with another person and somebody's going to help you achieve these goals. All right, so we have got the Lovers card. I love that with Jupiter in your seventh house. This is about options, choices, decisions. Obviously, you've been kind of deep in that recently with Mercury retrograde in your sign. I think this is about you recognizing that there are things that you want, like, you know, second house is like you want to buy the shoes, the bag, the car, the this, the that, you want to spend the money. But with the sextile to Saturn, you're like, I have these goals and like it should be allocated towards other things. So it may actually be that you're being more conservative with what you're spending because you're like, I actually want to, you know, renovate my house, or I want to put a new patio or a pool somewhere or whatever. So you're being a little bit more cautious maybe with being tempted to go and spend money in other ways. But also this is about really investing your time, because Saturn is time, in the things that you love. Let me know how that works, Sag. We've got Capricorn, Capricorn rising. What's up, guys? New moon, new you. This will be a new moon. So if you have anything 8, 9, 10 degrees of Capricorn, it's going to be on those personal placements. So it's going to be a little bit more personal. And a new moon in the first house obviously is going to be all about your identity, right? This is your appearance, this is your body, this is the self and your goals. Those are the goals that you're focusing on, your personal goals. So the intention with the new moon here is to define your personal goals, especially when it comes to career related ones, and work on your public image. And the themes are going to be self-discipline, ambition, and personal achievement. Now, I think this is a great time to start fresh with how you present yourself to the world, focusing on maturity and responsibility. Many of you guys are going to be wanting to make some changes to your appearance, or you have that intention or that goal. And the ruler of this is Saturn, which is hanging out in your third house of communication, learning, short distance travel. And I think this is going to be about really kind of learning to become your own hype man, boosting yourself up a little bit, believing in yourself. Like you may have to get into the regular routine habit of speaking kindly to yourself, journaling, meditating, maybe going for walks, listening to things that might be more positive. If you're looking to get more active and making changes to your appearance, it may be literally riding a bike, walking, running. It could be that you are also doing some kind of like third house is stuff that's going to be like mobile. It's not like just sitting in a gym, right? It's like getting outside and doing something. And if you're wanting to start, writing or creating anything that's going to be like promotional, so I think of like personal websites and media, this could be a good time to do it as well. The only real challenge is that Jupiter is squaring your chart ruler at the time of this new moon. So you're like, yeah, I've got a lot of things that I get done and I have very little free time. So Saturn square Jupiter is like, you don't have a lot of time to do the back and forth. You don't have a lot of time to, find time for yourself in between what looks like, juggling maybe for some of you guys more than one job. So the key here is, how do you work that into your routine? Morning is very much the first house. It's when the sun is rising. So it's about what you're getting up and doing in the morning. Maybe you're pulling a tarot card, writing a couple intentions down, and making time for yourself. I think that's going to be the key. And in 6 months' time, when this becomes a full moon, you will have a full moon in Capricorn in your first. You're going to have Jupiter in your relationship house, and you're going to have Saturn and Neptune in your fourth. So many Capricorn risings are going to be like, I'm living in a new place. I might even have a new relationship. You're going to be so surprised by just how much change is coming for you in 2025. You're not even going to be able to believe your eyes. I'm telling you. So this is the time to be like, okay, I'm visualizing it. I see it. I'm writing it all down. And if you want to, make some changes to your appearance, you can do that too. But it's all going to be about what you actually motivate yourself to do. Great card. You get the 8 of Wands. So energy is shifting. It's moving rapidly in the right direction. Many of you guys are going to see some of these changes manifesting as early as about March and April. You'll trust me on this. You will see this. So it's kind of saying you're already gearing up. You're ready to go. Maybe you have a little bit more energy. Maybe now that Saturn is direct, you're feeling a little bit more motivated, and you're ready to kind of initiate this change. And you will see rapid changes over like the next 8 weeks to 8 months. Okay. Enjoy this, Capricorn. Good new moon for you. We've got Aquarius and Aquarius rising. What's up, Aquarius? You guys are doing this new moon in Capricorn in your 12th house. This is a little bit more quiet. This is a little bit more reflective. It's kind of behind the scenes. It's private. So this is all about spirituality and solitude when you have a new moon in the 12th house. Obviously, for Aquarius, Capricorn season is kind of the winding down before you come into your new year, when you're either having your birthday or you're having planets go through your first house where you're reborn. So with that being said, the intention here with this new moon is to seek spiritual discipline, address fears or patterns that are coming up for you, especially revolving around work or your reputation. This can also be a period of more introspection and setting intentions to meditate, rest, recuperate, more with planets in the 12th house. The themes are going to be inner work and also dealing with karmic lessons, really paying attention to your intuition as well as your dreams. And I think this is going to be a time for internally restructuring and facing maybe what's been hidden, and also setting intentions for spiritual or psychological growth. Now, Saturn is the ruler, and it happens to be your co-ruler as well, and it's in your second house of resources, money, and self-esteem. So this is about believing that you are capable enough, believing that you are worth it, knowing your worth and not devaluing yourself, not beating yourself up or talking to yourself negatively. Needing to have really good self-esteem, especially now that Saturn is direct in your money house. This could also mean that you have some feeling that there's about to be some changes or things that are kind of completing at work or for you professionally, that you're embracing maybe a new chapter in your life. Some of you guys might be retiring. Some of you guys are changing careers. Some of you guys are changing something within your relationships. So it can indicate that, you're really having to kind of trust what's happening and practice a sense of being a little bit more conservative with your resources and your money as you go through this change, especially if you're in between jobs or something major is shifting in your life. Now, Jupiter is squaring this, and it's not a bad square, actually. This is kind of saying like maybe, this feeling of needing to change one career path and open up another is being prompted by craving something that's going to be more creative, something that's going to be more fun. It's going to bring more spontaneity and excitement into your life. So you're willing to take risks with Jupiter square Saturn and say, you know what, I may not make the money up front right away, but something really positive is going to come of this, and I love it, and I feel like it has a lot of opportunity. So you have to kind of believe and trust that. And part of that's kind of phasing out whatever you've been doing likely to kind of make space for this new thing. What else? That's pretty much it. I mean, I would just say that, you just need to take a little bit more time to kind of reflect. And this is a wonderful time to kind of commit to doing some like money manifestational work or doing some meditation work and really building on your security and imagining kind of grounding yourself out, because that's kind of needed with these aspects. Okay. All right. And obviously Mars is in opposition to Pluto in your chart right now. So it has nothing to do with anything personal, but it is personal because there's changes or kind of redirecting going on with relationships, and that's impacting you. And you're going through a profound change. And so maybe there's a lot of like needing to take a step back, maybe from relationships, or having private time to kind of assess that. Who am I outside of relationships? Card that I get is the Ace of Cups, which is wonderful with that opposition. That's really good news. This is generally a card that's about positive emotions, things changing and going in a great direction emotionally and with relationships, and opportunity for new love, and adventure, new emotional kind of heights that you're going to be experiencing. I'm looking at Jupiter in your fifth house. Maybe that this is about opening yourself up to relationships again and being vulnerable and believing in love. You got a really karmic retrograde in your seventh house. So that can be a time where really prominent people are kind of coming into your life and connecting with you in a multitude of ways. It's not just romantic, but the Ace of Cups generally is. Let me know what happens. That's an exciting card for that transit. A lot of you guys might be manifesting love or like soulmates too. All right, we've got Pisces and Pisces rising. What's going on, Pisces? You're going to be doing this new moon in the sign of Capricorn, and this will be in your 11th house of friends, groups, ambition, network, and also your goals, right? So this is where you write all your goals down. The new moon is going to be, bringing up for you a time where maybe you're reevaluating some of your friendships and seeing, what social connections or what friends are aligning with your goals, or maybe you're joining groups that support your aspirations, or you're doing some professional networking. I think this is a wonderful time to be networking. I think you'll see success if you're doing this. I think that some of your long-term goals may actually come from some kind of like collective effort. And obviously there's going to be opportunities to kind of have more social ambition here. I'm encouraging you to use your social network as a stepping stone for personal or professional growth. And at the time of this new moon, it's sextiling Saturn in your sign. So it's like, are you leading a group? Are you starting a group, right? Are you getting, brought in and seen as somebody who's like a professional in your field or a leader of some kind and working with a group of other people? It could also mean that you're just needing to make more of an effort to surround yourself with people who are going to help you become the best version of yourself. So it could be people who are goal-oriented or very passionate about what they're doing work-wise. What's interesting is that at the time of this new moon, we're going to be seeing that Jupiter, your chart ruler, is squaring Saturn, the moon ruler. So it's almost like also saying like, it's pushing you to maybe go back home, visit family, you know, connect with friends. It's pushing you maybe to, you know, get out of the house from time to time and have like a social group or a club or a connection that you can kind of participate in. And Jupiter square, you know, Jupiter square Saturn, it does feel like there's lots of growth and opportunities in terms of your home and your living situation coming, but you're being a little bit more cautious revolving around making moves or where you're going to be. And likely you're taking into consideration, well, what are my goals when it comes to my living situation? How is it going to benefit my career? But also simultaneously, am I going to be places where I'm going to have community? I'm going to connect. And if you're moving places, or if you're traveling, or if you're going places where you don't have that, you're going to go and find it. You're going to go and build it. That's going to be the #1 goal for you throughout this process. Okay. And the card that I got for you is the Hierophant, which is kind of funny because it's like structure, you know, figure out your goals, structure it, get serious. And that's been the lesson. You've been seeing that through the career reworkings. You've been seeing that through the home reworkings. And there's been this kind of theme that's like, if you're not satisfied with life right now, what do you want to change? Right now with Mercury retrograde at the beginning of December, you know, you were thinking about, okay, career changes. Now Jupiter's retrograde. So you can make the home decisions and the reworkings if you need to better suit the life that you're trying to build. So you may need to talk to somebody. You know, the Hierophant could mean you get a reading, you're talking to, you know, a parent, you're talking to an advisor, somebody that you trust about making some of these decisions. And you may be kind of saying, you know what, I need to be where I'm going to have people who are going to help kind of boost my career and go in the direction that I want to go in. And you might have somebody give you some advice about that, basically. Okay. So I hope this was helpful for you guys and that you navigate this new moon in Capricorn coming up at the end of the month with all the good things. I mean, I feel like there's a lot of opportunity, even in spite of some of the oppositions and the squares. It's going to create some obstacles, but you know, Capricorn is known for being able to endure pretty much anything. But let me know, where is this new moon happening in your chart? What aspects is it making? And leave me a comment below. Give me a thumbs up if you like this video. Consider sharing it with other people who are astrologically inclined. And make sure you click that bell button and subscribe. We are so very close to hitting 40,000 subscribers. You guys can make it possible by interacting with my channel or subscribing to help the channel grow. If you want to see more about me and my work, as well as my personal one-on-one sessions or my courses, check out the link in the description below at beyondtheveiledtarot.com. Until next time, I'll catch all of you guys very soon. Happy moonifesting and take care.